Hello and welcome to another bite-sized faith. I'm coming to you live from the playground. So today is actually Memorial Day. We are celebrating with extended family. So before we get to eating at the barbecue, I wanted to quickly share just some encouragement. I have talked a lot about my journey of finding my husband and knowing that he was the one. I have a video on my channel. It was one of the first ones that went viral, was how I knew my husband was the one, but I don't often talk about how I knew that someone wasn't the one. There was actually someone that I was very interested in high school, and we had this very, I don't know if I'd call it intense, but it was intense for me. It was like an intense crush. Like, we never officially were a couple, but we definitely liked each other. I liked him and he liked me. And our crush kind of went on for years, to the point where after, in senior year in high school, he moved away, and then I went to college. I stayed in Hawaii going to college, and then he came out for my graduation from college in order to celebrate with me, and he stayed at my house with my family. I was still living at home at the time, and we were still friends, but it was understood that we both liked each other. And I remember there was a point where he went to church with me, and I remember there was a woman who came by and she saw us standing next to each other, and she was like, "Oh, are you guys a couple?" And we're like, "No, we're just friends." And she's like, "Oh, I thought you were married." Like, it just felt like you guys were married. And you know how sometimes you get a word from somebody at church and they're like, "Oh, I sense this," or "I feel that." And I was just like, I don't know, maybe she's seeing a soul tie, but we were never an official couple of anything. But I remember later on feeling feeling a little confused, because I knew that he liked me. He knew that I liked him, but deep down I just knew to not be in a relationship with him, and that he was not my husband. But that trip that he came out, that person saying they felt like we were a couple, or we were married, and then just him staying with my family, and him, even his mom, I think, had told me you're supposed to be with him, or because at that time I was waiting for marriage, and I was not dating until I knew it was my husband, and I made that commitment to the Lord, and a lot of people didn't really agree with that, and they were just that's doing too much. So I remember talking to her on the phone and telling her that my mom had a dream about who my husband would be, and it was not this guy. And she was like, prophecy isn't really a thing anymore like that. That's for Old Testament, you don't have prophets like that. So how do you know this isn't your husband? So I'm very confused at this point, and kind of just maybe I am. I can't shake this intense crush. I can't shake these feelings for this guy. I know he likes me, and I like him. But maybe, this is meant to be for marriage. So I remember talking to my mom even, and she was like, "Do you guys feel like you're supposed to be married?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And then I remember, I think it was that very same day or the next day, I was in the bathroom, bathing, and a lot of times God does speak to me in the shower, or when I'm cleaning. I don't know what that is. I don't know if you have a way that God speaks to you a lot, but he was like, "That's not your husband." And I was like, I know that's not my husband. And this is after I'm already told my mom, maybe I think I'm supposed to marry him. But the Lord clearly said in the shower. I didn't hear an audible voice. I just deep down knew, that's not your husband. And so that was the last day, and I kind of cut it off, and I was I had a conversation, with this guy, and I was like, "You know what? We're not going to be together, and you're not my husband, and so we're never gonna be together." And it was just a very awkward and uncomfortable conversation, and he was very hurt by it, and I felt bad, because when you're kind of having these lingering feelings, and this kind of situationship kind of feeling thing, even if you're not a couple, you're still, it was just very intense bond of that. So it was very confusing to him, and in a way maybe I led him on. But anyways, years go by, and I actually did meet my husband, the one who is the father of my children, and who we have a great family that is submitted to the Lord now. And I'm so glad that I waited and that I cut that off, because I feel a lot of people can get into relationships where they're just very confused, and they think they're supposed to be with this person. And I think a lot of people don't talk about that, when you're just I think this person is the one, but I'm just kind of conflicted about it. And it kind of reminds me of a scripture that comes up, I think, 3 times in Song of Songs, aka Song of Solomon, depending on which Bible you're reading, where it says, "Beloved, do not do not awaken love until it desires. Like, beloved, I beg of you, like, do not awaken love until it so desires. Meaning when it's time. Do not awaken love until it's time. And I think a lot of times we prematurely fall in love. We date too early. I think as a culture, we just date too early and for no reason at all. I don't think you should date for the sake of dating. I believe that God has somebody for you. And, you know, he proved that to me when I said I'm going to be single, even though I had, like I said, that weird, like, situationship kind of intense crush thing going on. I let it go. And that was around the time that I knew Jarrell was my husband. So that kind of overlapped, like those kind of friendships things. I remember, like, God making it more clear that Jarrell was my husband. And I was like, I got no business talking to this other guy. So I just stopped talking to him. And I remember one of the last texts I got from him was he was saying, you're acting like you don't even know me. You don't respond to my texts. You don't respond to my calls. You act like you don't even know me. And I was like, and I might have just like blocked him or just stopped talking to him altogether. And I think that was the last conversation we had. And I went on to pursue, you know, a relationship and after that, a marriage with my husband. And so I just feel like if you are single and you're committed to having a God-honoring relationship and God bringing your spouse to you, do not awaken love until it desires. You know, ask the Lord if this person is for you. And you don't even have to date them first. Me and Jarrell were friends. I had no intentions of being with him until the Lord sat us down and in like a date that shouldn't have even happened. We're supposed to hang out with friends and they ditched us. So we ended up having a one-on-one kind of date at a burger place. And then we started talking and I was like, wow, this is something. Like, this is something. So, and that turned into an actual relationship and God calling us to pursue this. And we got married almost exactly a year to the date of that first date. So yeah, if you feel like confused, God is not the author of confusion. He makes things clear. If you don't have peace about something, don't. Take time, pray about it until you have peace about it. If God is telling you to do it, he will make it clear. He will send signs and confirmation, and there will be no sorrow. There will be no confusion. There will be no conflicting things. There will be no stress and anxiety with the things that God has called you to do. Even if it doesn't make earthly sense, you will still have spiritual peace, supernatural peace about things. So this is a little bit of a longer one. It's almost 8 minutes long, but I guess that's how long it took to tell you guys about how I knew he was not my husband, I knew he was not the one. So if you had a similar situation, or if you gleaned anything from this, or if you want me to pray for you because you're waiting for marriage, or you're confused about who you're supposed to marry, leave that in the comments. I'd love to talk to you, and I will see you in the next bite-sized faith video. Okay, bye.